Hello everybody, my name is Jackson Mauser and this is the gear overview for all of the equipment that I'm going to be bringing with me on my through hike of the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to be explaining what every single piece of equipment here does, what it's used for, how it works. This video is just for me to reflect on once I'm done, just to see what I started with, because all of this is going to change, I'm sure, throughout the hike. It's also for people who don't necessarily know how a lot of this works or don't know what I'm taking with me and want to know more about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I will see you in the overview. We will get right into the first piece of equipment that I'm going to be bringing with me, and probably the most important is this backpack. This is the Hyperlite Unbound 55-liter Hyperlite backpack. It weighs significantly less than any backpack I have ever owned, and is waterproof, and it carries everything that I'm going to be bringing with me. Yeah, I recommend this backpack to literally anybody. I've taken this backpack. It's probably got like 300 to 400 miles on it. It is amazing. I love it. I previously owned an Osprey. I think it was also a 55-liter. It was an amazing backpack, but it just doesn't compare to this. This thing is amazing. Moving on to the sleeping equipment and everything that I'm going to be having inside of my tent. We'll start with my sleeping bag. This is the Feathered Friends Flicker UL. This thing is rated for 0 degrees. I'm pretty sure the comfort rating is like 10 to 15 degrees above that. Not actually sure what the exact comfort rating is, but if it was 0 degrees, I wouldn't die, put it like that. I would live. But yeah, that's the sleeping bag. It's full of down. It's amazing. I also have used this a bunch, took it with me to Montana, to Glacier National Park, and it was pretty cold there during the night, and this thing was amazing. So I have full faith in this sleeping bag. My sleeping mat is the Thermarest Neo Air. This basically, it just unrolls. For anybody who doesn't know how backpacking mats work, it unrolls and it inflates. It's not very hard to inflate. I usually just blow it up. It doesn't take too long. Unless you're really tired, then it would suck because you'll get lightheaded, and that's happened to me before. But that doesn't happen very often. I've had a lot of sleeping mats before this. Before this, I had the Thermarest Scout, I believe. That one was nice. It was just a bit too thin for me. This one's a bit more cushy, and it's actually lighter, so I like this a lot better. Very nice. Hopefully I don't have to use a repair kit on this at all throughout the entire through hike. I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. It happens to a lot of people that do it. But I have 2 of those in my med bag if that happens. Moving on to the last thing that I'm going to have for actual sleeping equipment in my tent. This is the Big Sky pillow. I think that might be the brand is Big Sky. This thing's amazing. I have like a buff cut out, kind of like this one that I'm bringing with me, to use almost as like a pillow sheet to go around it, because otherwise it's just kind of like a plasticky rubber, and it's way worth it to bring a buff like this to go over it. It just makes the pillow that much better. It weighs absolutely literally nothing. Otherwise I wouldn't bring a pillow because I don't need it. I've backpacked without a pillow before. I've just used like my clothes bag as a pillow before, but this thing is that much more worth it for this through hike. And then the last thing I have in my sleeping gear bag, which isn't actually sleeping gear, is my the clothes that I'm not going to be wearing pretty much like on day one, which is just a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, underwear, and then 2 pairs of socks. Everything, you're wondering, well, that's not a lot to take with you on a through hike. Well, that's not. I have a lot of other clothes on the side that I'm going to be wearing day one. We'll get to that later, but just the backup clothes that I have are just a t-shirt, shorts, socks, underwear, basically. Just really basic stuff, so that once the cold goes around, this is just going to be what I'm wearing, and all this other cold gear is going to get sent back home once it gets warm. All that goes in this waterproof bag, and it's going to go at the bottom of my bag. It all goes together because in this bag, because this is the last thing I need to get wet, basically. If this gets wet, I more than likely have to go wait for it to dry out at a hostel or something like that and take time off the trail, which I don't want to do because that slows me down. But yeah, that's basically all the sleeping equipment and my backpack I've gone over. We will move on to the cooking equipment, my food bag, and all my water stuff next. So right here, this is my cooking bag. I've got in here I've got the Jetboil Stash, I believe it is. There's the Stash and the Flash. I think this one's the Stash. Yeah, it is. It's just basically a pot. It comes apart. The lid holds the propane canister, goes inside like this, and then that's basically it for the pot. In my cooking bag, I have, let's see here if I could get it out. There's a titanium spoon I used to eat my meals with. A couple of lighters are in here. I'm not going to show those. They're just standard Bic lighters to light the stove. And then this is the actual stove right here. Comes apart. It's got a couple of prongs. They come apart like this, and it attaches to the propane, and then the pot goes on top, and then you light it. And really, it's only used to boil water to pour into the freeze-dry meals. You can, and which I'm going to be doing, is cooking ramen also in the pot, and then you wash out the pot. But besides that, you don't really cook anything in the pot besides water and sometimes ramen. But that's that. Put all this back in here. Moving on, we have my water filtering stuff. I'm using the Sawyer squeeze, just a standard Sawyer squeeze. I'm sure I'm gonna end up getting a new one of these later down the line, but the way these work is you fill up, this is a really big question I get a lot about how do you get your water, is basically this bag right here, the CNOC bag, I think it's 2 liters? I think it's 2 liters. Yeah, it's 2 liters. It can hold 2 liters of water. And on the trail, when there's a pipe spraying or a creek or something, I'll fill this bag up with unfiltered water, basically, and attach this Sawyer squeeze water filter to the bottom, like so. And then basically squeeze the bag a little bit, and it'll filter the water through the Sawyer squeeze, and then into my water bottles, which are right here, just like these right here. They're already full of water, but it's just because they've been store-bought. And that's basically how that works. It's really simple. Like, it's actually idiot-proof, kind of. The only thing that's not idiot-proof about it is that every once in a while, the filter gets backed up, and you use this syringe right here to back flush it, and it basically cleans out the filter inside of the Sawyer squeeze. And that's basically that. I'll probably end up getting a new Sawyer squeeze halfway through, or whenever I feel like I need to, of the Thru-Hike, just because the filter might get to a point where it's unusable, just because it's so dirty. But that is the water filtering equipment that I'm going to be using. Along with the water stuff, I'll just go over how much water I'm bringing with me. I'm going to have with me at all times a liter, and I think this is like a little more than half a liter. It's not always going to be full, but the maximum water capacity that I'm having is a little more than 1.5 liters of water. Just being one person on the trail, I don't feel like I have to carry more than this. That theory will be tested really early into the Thru-Hike. I'll find out whether or not I need more or if I can carry less. But I think this is going to be just the right amount. The water is not only used for drinking. You have to keep in mind that the freeze-dried meals that I have in my food bag right here require probably like half of one of these just to cook. So when I'm going into sleep at night, I need a lot of water, not just to drink, but also to cook. And that usually isn't a problem because there's usually water where I'm staying, but if there's not, I have to pack in a little extra. Go over the food bag too. I'm not going to go over every meal I have in here, every snack I have, but basically there's like 3.5 to 4 days of food in here. The first resupply spot, for instance, is 3 days into my Thru-Hike. I brought just a little more food than that, just in case something goes wrong. You never know. I'm sure I won't start thinking like that once I realize how heavy the pack is, but that's just how I have it for now. This thing probably weighs, I don't know, like 4.5 pounds, and the weight goes down obviously as you eat the food, and then once you resupply, then you will have a full food bag again. Your pack will be heavier. So really the food and the water is the only thing that changes. It's the only variable that you have in your pack that changes in terms of weight. So that's nice, and it only ever changes about 2 to 3 pounds every resupply. But that is that for food and water. And the one thing that I skipped over, which I should have done with all of the sleeping equipment, is my tent. I have the Z-Pack Solo Plex Light, I believe it's called, and this thing is amazing. I have not actually put any miles on this thing. I've set it up a bunch of times at the house, and it's really light. Like, this tent weighs less than this bottle, half a liter of water, which is unbelievable. There isn't much to it. It really is kind of just like a tarp. I have to use one of my trekking poles to set it up. I'll include a clip in this video of what it looks like set up. But yeah, I use one of my trekking poles to set it up, and then I've got tent stakes here. These are very light. They're made of aluminum, and these just help stake it down. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not big at all. If it's one person, I maybe could have my dog in there with me, but no more than that for sure. But yeah, this thing's amazing. Like I said, I'll include a clip of it set up. Moving on to some of the miscellaneous items that I'm gonna be bringing with me. Well, I guess this isn't miscellaneous, but this is my like toiletry stuff / like hygiene bag. In here I've got a roll of toilet paper, some wipes, got a pair of nail clippers, I believe, and then toothbrush, toothpaste is in here, and that's pretty much all. Oh, and like a half a stick of deodorant and some shampoo as well. That's also in here for when I go to a hostel. I can have some stuff to wash up with and deodorant so that I don't absolutely smell foul. I know some people don't bring deodorant on the Thru-Hike just because it literally weighs like a couple ounces. I don't know why anybody would not want to bring it just to not smell like absolute shit, but I prefer not to, so I'm bringing that. This is basically just a really tiny waterproof bag with paracord in it, and this is for hanging a bear bag whenever there isn't a bear box. This bag that the paracord was in will be filled with rocks basically, and then I tie this rope to it and throw it over a tree or something and hang my food bag basically to it. You do that a bit further away from your tent, not much further, but just so that if there is a bear trying to get the food, it's not right next to you. I wouldn't want that. Speaking of bears, I am bringing bear spray to start. A lot of backpackers, especially Thru-Hikers, they advise not to just because of the weight. I haven't really seen many bears in the woods. Actually, I haven't really seen any actually at all. So everybody's always telling me, if you see a black bear in the woods, just, throw a rock at it or yell at it and it'll run away. Basically, until I have one of those experiences, I'm going to bring bear spray. Tend to be a little bit more on the paranoid side, but once I feel comfortable enough to encounter black bears and not be, intimidated by them, which everybody's always like, oh, just throw a rock at it. But until you see a bear standing in front of you, you're never gonna know how you actually feel. So I'm bringing bear spray until that happens. Always good against people too. If anyone tries to break into my tent, I'm not gonna pull out the knife. I'm just gonna bear spray them in the face. Besides that, some more miscellaneous items. This is just like a little butt pad to sit on. I'm not bringing a camping chair. This is just if I need to put it on a log. Folds out like that, folds up, weighs absolutely nothing. It's amazing. This thing I've had with me the entirety of backpacking. It's just amazing. Use this for stretching out if there's dirt in the ground you don't want to sit on and stuff like that. Very versatile, very important. Besides that, this isn't really miscellaneous either. This is quite important, but this is my electronics bag. There's not much in here. I have two batteries, if you want to call them. One, the really nice one, is the Nightcore NB2000. It's really good. It charges my phone, once, a lot. It charges it a lot of times, and I have a new phone, so the battery life on that is still really good. And then I have a spare one in here. It's also pretty light. It's not that nice, but it's just kind of in case the Nightcore battery dies and my phone dies, I have that. Because to be honest, that's actually the last thing I want to happen, is to have my phone die, because that's what I have my map on. It tells me where all the upcoming water and stuff is. I'd be fine, but basically I just want to make sure I can have a charged phone, and then in here I have the necessary wires to charge all the things. Once I go into a town, I have the cord to charge the Nightcore battery and the other battery, and then a cord to charge my phone. Oh, and my headlamp's also in here. I have a Nightcore headlamp. It's really powerful. But yeah. And then last thing we have is the clothing side of things. So we will get right into that in a minute. All right, moving on to all of the clothes that I'm going to be bringing with me. We'll start with the footwear, I guess. These are the hiking boots that I'm going to, I guess they're not, I don't really think they're boots. They're almost like a cross of like boots and trail runners. These are the Hoka, man, this is testing me. I don't know if they're the GDX or the GPX or something like that. These have a lot of miles on them. They're like probably 300-400 miles on them, which I guess isn't a lot actually at all, but they're pretty beat up. This is just what I'm starting with because I know that my feet take well to these. They don't, give me too many blisters or anything. I guess I haven't hiked 2,200 miles straight before, but I know that these work for me, and if they don't, I'll have to find something to change. But for right now, these are going to be what I'm using, and I will definitely need a new pair of them eventually. Camp shoes and stuff I'm going to wear just like around like a city when I go into one. These are just, the brand was like Zero Shoes, I believe. That's the brand, and they weigh like literally nothing. It's just a sole basically with some straps on top. They're just like a nice sandal, just so that when I get into camp, if I end up doing anything besides cooking, I put these on instead of my boots. But I don't really see myself using these too much, just because when I do get into camp, I'm literally going to be just setting up my stuff and going to bed after I eat. But yeah, I have to have these just in case. Let's see here. We'll do the cold gear next, because all that stuff's gonna get shipped back after about a month once it starts to warm up. I've got just like a beanie, basically, just like a normal, it's cotton, I believe, beanie. Got a pair of mittens. These weigh nothing, and they're actually, I found these in my house, and they're better than anything that I shopped for, so I'm choosing these. They're Montbell, and they are very warm, and I don't know where, I think they're actually in my bag. I'm not even gonna get them out, but they're basically rain mittens. So they're basically the same thing as these, but they go over top so that, these aren't waterproof obviously, but those rain mittens are, so that when it does rain and I wanna continue hiking, put that over these if it's really cold as well, and continue the hike. Other cold gear, here we go, we'll do these. This is the bottom for the Smart Wool 250 base layers. They're almost like a pair of long johns. This is for early in the morning when I'm hiking. These will go under my shorts, and also when I'm sleeping if it's really cold. And then there's also a top for them. It's kind of just like a long sleeve. Same difference when I'm sleeping or early in the morning. This will go under, a t-shirt and my hoodie. That's it for thermals. Let's see here. This hoodie will stay with me, even though I guess technically it's cold gear, throughout almost the entire thing, because when it's cold in the morning, this is just a really light, it's a microgrid hoodie. Sky Goat, I believe, is the brand. This thing's amazing too. For as light and thin as it is, you wouldn't believe how warm it actually keeps you. But yeah, this thing's amazing. This will stay with me throughout my entire Thru-Hike, and this would go over like my t-shirt per se. And then the last piece of cold gear that I'm bringing with me, and the most important, is this. This is the Mountain Hardwear 1,000 fill down puff jacket, I guess you'd call it. This thing's amazing. It weighs, again, less than this water bottle right here. It weighs absolutely nothing. It's going to be pretty much on me the entire time for the first week because it's going to be really cold. But yeah, this thing's amazing. I don't know how many times I've said that, but it really is just that amazing because it keeps you warm, and you wouldn't believe it by feeling it just because of how light it is. But this is better than any jacket I've actually ever worn, besides maybe like my snowboard jacket. But yeah, I'm excited to hopefully see this thing work in the extreme cold this first month. But yep, that's the jacket I'm using. Moving on to the rain equipment. I've got a pair of rain pants. This will get shipped back. Well, actually, I don't know if it'll get shipped back. We'll see if I like them or not. I'm bringing these with me just to go over my shorts when it starts raining, just to keep everything waterproof. Even though the shorts that I am bringing they dry out really fast. They would dry out overnight. But I guess in the beginning, I can't really have my shorts or base layers get wet, so I do need these, because if they do, they would freeze. And then I would not be able to use those the next day or something like that. And these are the Outdoor Research, I think they're the Helium series. And that's also it's the same thing with this rain jacket. It's Outdoor Research Helium. Rain jacket, I've seen, the only reason I picked this over any other rain jacket was just basically the reviews that I saw from other backpackers who have thru-hiked and are thru-hiking the Appalachian Trail. They say that this is the most bang for your buck, basically. So we'll see how this turns out. Subject to change, just like I said. A lot of this stuff is subject to change based on its performance. But that's basically it for rain and cold gear. And then day-to-day stuff, again, it's just the same thing as I have backup in my my clothes bag over here that's in my sleeping bag. This is just a pair of like smart wool socks. They're for the cold weather. These will get sent back in exchange for a normal pair of socks like I have in there once it gets warm. And then it's just another t-shirt, another pair of shorts, pair of underwear, and that's pretty much it. I basically just have 2 pairs of day clothes plus my cold gear. So that's it for clothes. Some miscellaneous stuff. I got a pair of ankle gaiters for my boots when it's really muddy or messy out. Hopefully these come in handy. I've never actually worn gaiters before, but I wished I had gaiters before, so hopefully I end up using these and liking them. And I brought bringing a pair of sunglasses. I believe they're Oakley's, just in case gets really sunny and I get tired of it. I don't know how much I'm going to use these. These are also subject to be shipped back, but I am bringing them to start because they are about weightless. And that's pretty much it for clothing items. That's not pretty much, that is it for clothing items. There's not a lot. I'm trying to think of stuff that I missed. There we go. That's definitely one that's very important. This is my first aid kit, and this is actually, like, besides my food bag and some of my clothing stuff, actually has the most mass to it. It weighs a lot. Just a lot of shit in here. The most important thing I have in here is an EpiPen. That's just for if I'll just tell the story. Basically, couple years ago, we were section hiking the AT. I've section hiked the first 300 miles of the AT in 3 trips, and on the second trip, I myself got stung like in the fingernail by a hornet or something in the Smoky Mountains, and over like the course of one day, the swelling grew like up to like the top of my wrist, and I got stung in the finger. So that's not normal. So I had to go to the nearest town and get steroids in the ass. That was not fun. Couldn't walk. Don't recommend it. But basically that inspired the group that I was backpacking with to bring an EpiPen in case, who knows, if I had got stung in the neck, had my throat closed up or something like that. I don't even want to think about that because we didn't have EpiPens then, but we started bringing them. And thank God we did, because the next section hike we did, my friend's dad, he's fine now, everything's good. He got stung by a bee, just a normal bee in the Smoky Mountains, and I think in like the ankle, wasn't anywhere near the head. I think it was the ankle, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But, and then he passed out, went into anaphylaxis, anaphylactic shock, and we had the EpiPens, and we administered the EpiPens, and he ended up being fine literally like 30 minutes later, and then he actually went out, and then that was the end of that trip. But thank God we had the EpiPens. Who knows if he would have woke back up. Don't want to think about that either. So I will always be bringing an EpiPen with me for others and for myself if something were to happen. But yeah, that's the EpiPen. Besides that, in here I've got just like a pill case. There's some Advil, aspirin, Benadryl for just a normal bee sting or something like that. I've got a pair of hot hands in here. I don't think I'm going to need them. It's just, I actually don't know. I'm probably going to want them. I don't know if I'm going to need them, but that's just for the cold months. Those will get shipped back because they are a bit heavy. I've got some Lucatape, another lighter in here, just other basic first aid stuff. There's some fire starter in here. I probably don't need that, but it weighs nothing. Gauze, a couple bandages, and that's pretty much it for that. And all that stuff ends up weighing a lot in here. This thing probably weighs like 2 pounds, which that's not a lot, but when you're carrying a backpack that weighs 23 pounds, 2 pounds is a lot. It's almost 10% of that. Another important thing, and actually I think this is the last thing. I think I've covered everything else, but the last thing is attached to my backpack I forgot about is the Garmin InReach Mini 2. This basically is just like a satellite device attached to my backpack here. It allows me to send messages when I don't have service or something like that to like my friends and family. It also has like a little screen on it. It has like a GPS. It sends a weather report to my phone. I don't know how accurate it is yet. We'll figure that out there. But yeah, I'm excited to be able to use this thing just because there's a lot of spots on the Appalachian Trail that do actually have service. Some might not really understand that because it is in the middle of nowhere, but really whenever you're on top of a peak, there is service. So you'll be able to send messages and call people, but in the valleys, which often is where you stay, there isn't service. So I'll be able to send a message at night being like, hey, I'm done with my hike today. Don't worry, because I got my mom's. I really basically got this for my mom because she's like, I need to be able to text you, typical mom stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited to be able to use this too. But yeah, that about concludes the gear overview. I lied. I have standard trekking poles. They're Leckies. That's the brand. completely forgot about these. I don't know how much I'll be hiking with these actually. I'm sure a lot going uphill, but my pack is lighter than any time I've ever backpacked before. So yeah, these are really light. They're amazing. Recommend these to anybody. They got cork grips. But yeah, that actually is it though. I don't have anything else that I'm bringing with me that's, you know, super important to mention in this gear overview. All this gear that I have used, so I mean, I'm pretty sure I've used everything that I've talked about besides the tent, the Z-Pack Soloflex light. I'm hoping that works out. I set it up, I love it. It's super light, so I hope it does work out in terms of function. And then the Mountain Hardwear jacket, I haven't used that either. But everything else that I've mentioned in this video, I would recommend to anybody who's, you know, started backpacking or is looking to get equipment. It's all very nice. I've put miles on it, and I recommend it to anybody. Besides that, yep, this is just the gear overview for the Appalachian Trail Thru-Hike 2025. I will see you guys on the first day, which is in like 3 days from now. So see you then.